They called them unstoppable, the phantom snipers who haunted the Nevada test range for 3 weeks, claiming 7 elite American operators with surgical precision. 7 men dead, each killed with a single round that somehow found the gap between body armor plates. 7 funerals, 7 flag-draped coffins, 0 leads. The SEAL commanders whispered about them in the secure briefing room, voices hushed as if the very walls might be listening. "We're dealing with ghosts," they said, until she arrived. Sarah Mitchell stood motionless on the firing line at dawn, the Nevada desert already shimmering with heat. At 34, she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who'd spent a decade perfecting a lethal craft. Her weathered M24 Remington sniper rifle, a weapon most modern operators would consider obsolete, rested against her shoulder like an old friend. The rifle had been her father's. Master Chief James Mitchell, legendary SEAL sniper with confirmed kills in Vietnam and Desert Storm, had carried it through hell and back before disappearing on a classified operation 6 years ago. The official report said he died serving his country. Sarah knew there was more to the story. "Range is hot," called the range master. Sarah exhales slowly, centering herself. 1,000 yards. Crosswind at 12 miles per hour. Target barely visible to the naked eye. The rifle cracked. Downrange, the steel target rang out, dead center. "Impressive," came a gruff voice behind her. Captain William Hayes, 58, stood with arms crossed, his weathered face a map of 3 decades in special operations. He'd served with her father in Desert Storm, had been there when the elder Mitchell became a legend. Now he commanded SEAL Team 6's counterterrorism unit, and he didn't look happy to see her. "You shoot like your old man," Hayes said, his tone making it unclear whether that was a compliment. "Thank you, sir." Sarah maintained the formal distance that Hayes seemed to prefer. "That doesn't mean you're ready for this operation." Hayes's eyes narrowed. "7 dead operators, Mitchell. The best we had. These aren't insurgents with AKs. These are precision killers who never miss and never get caught. That's why I'm here, sir. I understand sniper psychology. I can find them." Hayes scoffed. "You've been pushing for this assignment since you heard about the first casualty. Command thinks you're too emotionally invested because of your father's history." "My father has nothing to do with this," Sarah lied. "Bullshit." Hayes stepped closer. "Your old man spent the last 5 years of his career obsessed with Soviet ghost stories. Elite KGB sniper units he claimed never disbanded after the Cold War. Now you show up spouting the same theories." He shook his head. "I respected your father, Mitchell. That's the only reason you're here at all. But you're on recon only. You observe, report, and stay the hell out of combat. Clear?" "Crystal, sir." Hayes turned to leave, then paused. "James was my friend. I won't lose his daughter to the same phantoms that consumed him." As Hayes walked away, Sarah felt the weight of her father's legacy settle more heavily on her shoulders. What Hayes didn't know, what nobody knew, was that her father had left her more than just his rifle. He'd left her his research, his journals, his suspicions, and a single name scrawled in his final entry: Wolfhound. The Tactical Operations Center hummed with activity as Sarah spread topographical maps across the table. Standing with her were the 3 men who would form her reconnaissance team. Master Sergeant Frank Reeves, 45, communications specialist with 4 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. His salt and pepper beard and quiet demeanor spoke of a man who had seen too much but kept showing up anyway. Chief Petty Officer Michael Dawson, 38, spotter and intelligence analyst. He'd worked with Sarah on 2 previous deployments in Syria. They moved together like dancers who knew each other's rhythms. Lieutenant Thomas Wilson, 41, tactical officer. His skepticism radiated off him like heat waves from desert sand. "So we're hunting ghosts now?" he asked, not bothering to hide his disdain. "Not ghosts," Sarah replied, marking locations on the map. 7 kills, all between 600 and 800 hours, all from western-facing positions with maximum shadow cover, while targets were backlit by morning sun, all using 7.62 millimeter rounds with Soviet-era powder composition. Standard sniper tactics, Wilson challenged. But look at the pattern. Sarah traced lines between the kill locations. They're creating a perimeter, working inward. It's methodical. They're hurting us. Hurting us where? Reeves asked. Before Sarah could answer, the door opened. Colonel James Coleman, retired, entered the room. At 67, Coleman moved with the deliberate precision of a man conserving his energy. His weathered face had seen Vietnam, Panama, the first Gulf War, and countless classified operations during the Cold War. "To a kill box, Sergeant Reeves," Coleman said, his voice gravelly from decades of command. "They're creating a kill box." The room fell silent. Coleman rarely left his advisory role to join tactical briefings. "Colonel," Wilson nodded respectfully, "you're familiar with these tactics?" "I've seen them before." Coleman studied the map. "Soviet Spetsnaz Group 13. We called them Wolfhound. Officially, they never existed. Unofficially, they were the KGB's answer to our SEAL teams during the Cold War, specialized in elimination of high-value personnel." Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Wolfhound, the name from her father's journal. "Sir, with all due respect," Wilson began, "the Soviet Union fell 30 years ago." Coleman's eyes narrowed. "Son, some Cold War ghosts never disappeared. They just found new masters." He turned to Sarah. "Your father believed the same thing, didn't he?" All eyes turned to her. "Yes, sir. He tracked wolfhound activity for years. Nobody believed him." "I believed him," Coleman said quietly. "That's why I requested you for this operation. You have your father's eyes, not just for shooting, but for seeing patterns others miss." "Colonel," Sarah hesitated, "Captain Hayes has restricted us to reconnaissance only." A tight smile crossed Coleman's face. "Hayes is a good man, cautious, but he didn't face Wolfhound in '89 like your father and I did." He tapped the map. "These aren't random killers. If they're here, they're preparing for something bigger. Find them, Mitchell, before they find you." As Coleman left, Wilson shook his head. "Great. Now we're chasing Cold War bedtime stories." "Those bedtime stories have killed 7 of our men," Sarah replied sharply. "We move at 0300, gear for extended reconnaissance. And despite what Colonel Coleman said, we follow Hayes's orders. Observation only." Dawson caught her eye, a silent question passing between them. Sarah gave an imperceptible nod. They both knew observation wouldn't be enough. The Nevada night cloaked them as they moved through the rocky terrain. Night vision painted the world in ghostly green as Sarah led the team toward the northern ridge, where her analysis suggested the sniper team would establish their next position. "Movement tracking shows nothing in this sector for 72 hours, Wilson whispered through the tactical radio. "If they're here, they're ghosts indeed." "They're here," Sarah replied with certainty. 4 hours into their mission, they discovered the first sign, a cigarette butt of Russian manufacture, no more than 6 hours old, hidden beneath a rock. "Sloppy," Dawson muttered. "Or deliberate," Sarah countered. "They want us to know they're here." The team advanced cautiously toward an abandoned Cold War-era observation post, one of dozens scattered throughout the test range. As they approached, Sarah motioned for them to hold position while she surveyed the structure through her rifle scope. "Clear," she whispered after long minutes of observation. Inside, they found evidence of recent occupation, food wrappers with Cyrillic lettering, tactical gear of non-American manufacture, and most disturbing, a wall map with surveillance photos of the 7 dead operators, each marked with a red X. "My God," Reeves breathed. "They've been watching us for weeks." Sarah examined communications equipment left behind. Modern Russian tech, military-grade encryption. She picked up a document, its pages covered in what appeared to be firing solutions and wind calculations. These aren't insurgents. These are professionals. Hayes needs to see this, Wilson said, reaching for his secure radio. Sarah placed a hand on his arm. Wait, something's not right. They wouldn't leave this much intelligence behind unless... A sharp crackle came from their radio before Wilson could transmit. A voice spoke in accented English. Americans, we see you. Do you see us? Wilson froze, hand on his radio. Reeves immediately began scanning for surveillance devices. Dawson moved to the window, rifle ready. Channels compromise, Reeves whispered. They've hacked our comms. The voice continued. The daughter of James Mitchell. We've been waiting for you, Sarah. Your father sent his regards before he died. Sarah's blood turned to ice. They knew her. They knew her father. Wilson Reeves, fall back to secondary position, she ordered quietly. Dawson and I will cover. We're not separating, Wilson argued. That's exactly what they want, Sarah hissed. To bunch us together. Easy targets. Go. Now. As Wilson and Reeves reluctantly retreated, Sarah turned to Dawson. They're watching us, which means they're close. Dawson nodded, his eyes scanning the surrounding ridgelines. 4 shooters, based on the tactical notes. Probably within 1,000 yards. We need to warn base, Sarah said. But they're monitoring all frequencies. A shot cracked through the air. Wilson dropped with a cry of pain, blood blooming from his thigh. The round had come from the northeast ridge, approximately 800 yards away. Sniper! Dawson shouted, pulling Wilson toward cover. Sarah already had her rifle up, scanning for the shooter. Another shot kicked up dust inches from her position. Different angle. Second shooter. Get Wilson to cover, Sarah ordered Reeves. Dawson with me. They sprinted for a rocky outcropping as more shots followed. Once behind cover, Sarah quickly assembled her father's rifle. They're using our tactical frequency to track our movements, she said. We can't call for backup. Dawson nodded grimly, setting up his spotting scope. Wilson's hit, but stable. Reeves has him in cover. We need to change the equation, Sarah said, peering through her scope. They think they're hunting us. We need to hunt them. Hayes ordered reconnaissance only, Dawson reminded her. 7 dead operators say we're past reconnaissance. Sarah's voice hardened. These are the men who killed my father. I feel it. Dawson studied her for a long moment, then reached into his vest pocket. He withdrew a folded paper and handed it to her. Your father wasn't just killed, Sarah. He was betrayed. The paper contained radio frequencies not used by any U.S. military unit and the signature of a high-ranking American intelligence official. What is this? Sarah demanded. Your father discovered Project Echo, a black program using former Soviet operatives to train American deep-cover assassination teams. When he threatened to expose it, he became a liability. Dawson's eyes held genuine regret. I was assigned to watch you, to ensure you didn't follow his path. But I can't do this anymore. Not after seeing those 7 men die. Sarah felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath her. You knew? All this time? I didn't know they'd kill him, Dawson said quietly. I swear it. But when they deployed Wolfhound here, I realized this wasn't just training. This is something bigger. Before Sarah could respond, another shot rang out, this one striking Dawson in the shoulder, spinning him to the ground. Michael! Sarah dragged him behind cover, assessing the wound. Hang on. Blood seeped through his tactical gear. 4 shooters, he gasped. Northeast Ridge, Western Slope, Southern Plateau, and... He coughed, blood speckling his lips. And one closer. Mobile. Hunting. Sarah applied a pressure bandage to his wound. I need to get you out of here. No. Dawson gripped her arm. You need to stop them. They're testing prototype weaponry for an operation against a nuclear facility. That's what your father discovered. Sarah's mind raced. Everything clicked into place. The methodical kills, the testing ground, her father's final notes. This wasn't just about eliminating American operators. It was preparation for something catastrophic. Find them, Dawson whispered. Do what your father couldn't. Sarah checked her ammunition and gripped her father's rifle. I'll be back for you. She knew it might be a lie, but it was one they both needed. As she slipped away from their position, Sarah keyed her radio one final time. This is Mitchell. Wilson's down. Dawson's hit. 4 hostile snipers confirmed. I'm going hunting. The rising sun painted the Nevada mountains in shades of golden shadow as Sarah moved like a ghost through the rocky terrain. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. Hunting another sniper isn't about the shot. It's about outthinking them, predicting where they'll be, seeing the battlefield as they see it. Her analysis of the terrain and firing trajectories gave her the likely position of the first shooter, a natural rock formation on the northeast ridge, providing both concealment and a commanding view of the valley. Sarah approached from below, using the morning shadows for cover. Through her scope, she spotted the subtle signs of a hide position: disturbed soil, the faintest glint of optics. The sniper lay in perfect stillness, his Russian-made rifle trained on the area where Dawson and Wilson were hidden. Sarah calculated distance, 850 meters. Crosswind from the west at 8 p.m. Temperature dropping as the sun rose, affecting bullet drop. She exhaled slowly, centering the crosshairs just above the sniper's position. The rifle kicked against her shoulder. Through her scope, she saw the target jerk violently, then go still. One down. Moving immediately, Sarah relocated before any counterfire could find her. The second shooter would now be alerted, hunting for her position. She had to keep moving. Using a dry riverbed for concealment, Sarah worked her way toward the western slope. The second sniper would have a wider field of fire, covering the most likely escape routes from the valley. As she set up her next shooting position, Sarah heard the distinctive crack of a high-powered rifle. The second sniper had fired at something, likely Reeves attempting to move Wilson to safety. The shot revealed his position, a cave entrance halfway up the western slope. Sarah estimated 700 meters, with trickier wind conditions as the morning air warmed. She steadied her breathing, made her calculations, and squeezed the trigger. The round found its mark. The sniper tumbled from his hidden position, rolling down the rocky slope before coming to rest. 2 down. Sarah moved again, knowing the remaining shooters would be converging on her last position. The third would be the hardest. The southern plateau offered multiple hide positions and would require her to expose herself to get a clear shot. As she maneuvered for position, a bullet struck the rock inches from her head. The third sniper had spotted her movement. Sarah dropped flat, using natural depressions in the ground for cover. Another shot kicked up dirt near her position. She couldn't advance or retreat without exposing herself. The sniper had her pinned. Drawing on her father's teachings, Sarah removed her helmet, placing it carefully on her rifle barrel. Slowly, she raised it just enough to create the illusion of a soldier peering over cover. The enemy sniper took the bait. As he fired at the decoy, Sarah rolled to a new position 10 meters away, bringing her rifle up in one fluid motion. Through her scope, she spotted muzzle flash from a cluster of boulders 950 meters distant. Her third shot flew true. 3 down. Only the mobile hunter remained, the most dangerous of them all. This wouldn't be a stationary target, but a fellow predator actively stalking her. Sarah moved quickly toward Dawson's position, knowing the fourth sniper would likely target her wounded comrade to draw her out. As she approached, she spotted movement. A figure in advanced camouflage creeping toward where Dawson lay hidden. The distance was much closer than the previous engagements, approximately 400 meters. Sarah set up her final position, centering her scope on the approaching figure. Something about his movements seemed strangely familiar. As the figure turned slightly, Sarah caught a glimpse of his face. Her blood froze. Colonel Robert Walsh, former sniper instructor, her father's oldest friend, American. Walsh moved with predatory precision toward Dawson's hiding place, his rifle ready. Sarah had seconds to decide. "Colonel Walsh," she called out, her voice carrying across the rocky terrain. Walsh froze, then slowly turned toward her position. Even at this distance, Sarah could see the cold calculation in his eyes, the eyes of a man who had made killing his profession. "Sarah Mitchell," he called back. "James would be proud. 3 of my best men in less than 15 minutes. That's quite a record." "Why?" Sarah demanded, keeping her rifle trained on him. "Those were American operators you killed." "Acceptable losses for national security," Walsh replied calmly. "Your father couldn't understand that either. You killed him." It wasn't a question. Walsh sighed, visible even through Sarah's scope. "James discovered something he shouldn't have, just like you have. History repeats itself." "Wolfhound," Sarah said. "Project Echo. The nuclear facility plan. I know everything." "Then you know why you can't leave this valley alive." Walsh adjusted his position slightly. "Your father trained you well, but I trained your father." "Not well enough, apparently," Sarah replied coldly. "He's dead." "Yes." Walsh's voice hardened. "By my hand. Quick. Professional. A courtesy I extended to an old friend." "Did he know it was you?" "At the end. Yes." Walsh shifted again, preparing for a shot. "He died with your name on his lips, Sarah, asking me to spare you." "And yet here we are?" Walsh laughed, a hollow sound across the desert air. "Here we are indeed, the daughter carrying her father's rifle, hunting her father's killer. It's almost poetic." Sarah's finger tightened on the trigger. "Why the Russian snipers? Why Wolfhound?" "Deniability. When they hit the nuclear facility, it will appear to be a Russian operation. The perfect pretext for the military response we need." Walsh's rifle barrel glinted in the sunlight. "Your father was a patriot, Sarah, but a short-sighted one. He was right about you." "No," Walsh countered. "He never saw me coming, just like you won't." In that moment, both rifles fired simultaneously. Sarah felt the burn of a bullet grazing her shoulder. Through her scope, she saw Walsh stagger backward, her round finding its mark in his chest. Sarah approached cautiously as Walsh lay bleeding on the rocky ground, his rifle fallen beside him. His eyes held a mixture of pain and grudging respect. "Your father would be proud," he gasped, blood bubbling at his lips. "I know," Sarah replied, standing over him. "You can't stop what's coming," Walsh warned, his voice weakening. "The operation is already in motion." Sarah knelt beside the dying man. "Where? When?" Walsh's eyes locked with hers. "James taught you well," he whispered. "Too well." His hand suddenly moved toward a concealed pistol. Sarah fired once more. Walsh lay still. The echo of the final shot faded across the Nevada desert, leaving only silence. 4 targets, 4 kills, 12 minutes. The medical evacuation helicopter kicked up dust as it landed in the valley. Sarah stood with Dawson, Wilson, and Reeves as Captain Hayes approached, his face a mixture of anger and reluctant admiration. 4 hostiles confirmed eliminated, Hayes said. All Russian-trained operatives. And Walsh. He shook his head in disbelief. A goddamn American colonel. If I hadn't seen the evidence myself. "My father tried to tell you," Sarah said quietly. Hayes nodded, regret evident in his weathered features. "I know. I should have listened." He handed Sarah a flash drive. "We found this on Walsh. Operational plans for an attack on the Rocky Flats nuclear storage facility. Would have been catastrophic. And blamed on Russian operatives," Sarah added. "Creating the perfect pretext for military escalation," Hayes confirmed. Walsh was working with hardliners who'd been pushing for more aggressive action against Russia. They were willing to sacrifice American lives to create their war. Sarah pocketed the drive. My father died trying to expose this. And now he's vindicated. Hayes placed a hand on her shoulder. James would be proud, Mitchell. Damn proud. 6 months later, Sarah stood before a new class of sniper trainees at the Naval Special Warfare Training Facility. At 35, she was now the youngest master instructor in the program's history. Sniping isn't about the shot, she told them, echoing her father's words. It's about outsmarting an opponent who believes they're untouchable. It's about patience, calculation, and the willingness to take one shot when it matters most. On her desk sat a photograph of James Mitchell, posthumously awarded the Navy Cross after the full story of his death came to light. Beside it lay his old Remington rifle, now officially designated as a training tool for the next generation of operators. As the trainees filed out, Colonel Coleman entered the room. Now fully retired but still commanding respect, he nodded approvingly at the rifle. Your father once told me that rifle would help bring down an empire, Coleman said. He was right, just not in the way he expected. Sarah picked up the weapon, feeling its familiar weight. Sometimes the ghosts we're hunting are closer than we think. The Cold War never really ended, Sarah, Coleman replied. It just changed forms. There will always be more ghosts. Sarah chambered around in the old rifle, its mechanism still flawless after decades of service. Then we'll keep hunting them. Later that evening, Sarah visited her father's grave at Arlington National Cemetery. She placed a single brass casing from her final shot at Walsh on the headstone. We got him, Dad, she whispered. All of them. As she turned to leave, Sarah noticed a man watching her from a distance, Captain Hayes. He nodded respectfully, then turned and walked away. They both understood what remained unspoken. Some ghosts were still out there, waiting to be hunted. Sarah Mitchell would be ready.